Namaskar, I'm Ashok Vyas, and today it's a very, very special occasion that we would be enriching ourselves about that area of life which plays an important role and actually acts as foundation in some way in order for us to realize our dreams. And to help us navigate through the financial aspect of our life, I'm delighted to be welcoming someone who is not only a dear friend but also a very dedicated and a sincere financial professional. And as I sit with Paresh Shah ji, I also feel proud that he's a managing principal of Paresh Shah Financial Partners, and he's a certified financial planner, wealth strategist for last almost 18 years. That's a long time. And you have helped Pariji many individuals and businesses also in co-creating innovative financial strategies.
That's right.
And as many of our viewers may not be aware that you are a CPE presenter licensed, you have educated CPAs as they guide their clients on investments, life, disability, and long-term care insurances. I think that's incredible. These people who are helping, you are helping them to help.
Yes.
That's wonderful. And you have specialized in pension and profit sharing plans, asset protection, estate planning, and business succession planning. Business succession planning is also an interesting subject, and probably one day we'll learn more about that from you, Paresh.
Sure, absolutely.
But very interesting part is you graduated as a chemical engineer and honors graduate, very studious gentleman, and that was also from the prestigious IIT of Kharagpur, India. That is Indian Institute of Technology, and your sense of professionalism and community service has kept you active in India as well as in the United States. Paresh, you have supported healthcare and education initiatives for the financially challenged also, and that is also commendable. Now, there are many questions that one would have for a person like you, but let us begin with something which might be of interest for anyone and everyone. When you sit with a financial professional, what you want to know is something which is very dear to you, and what is dear to you is your family. So let me mention a little bit about Pareshji's family also. You live in town of Jericho in Long Island, and very few people are as devoted to their wives as I would say Pareshji is, and she's Shimulji, and your son Shamik now is a junior at Stony Brook University. Um, let's talk about life where it starts unfolding for you. You look back and you think, well, now is the time to retire, but what am I going to do? How am I going to survive? So, talk to us a little bit about what is it that is making people more concerned and they're stressed out in terms of what are they going to do after they retire.
First of all, Ashokji, thank you very much for the great introduction. Really appreciate that. And if I may say that traditional financial planning has failed Americans. Now, often the question is asked to me that, what do you mean by traditional financial planning? So, the traditional financial planning model is you work, you have expenses, you save money, and the money that you save, you put it for a reasonable rate of return. You may invest it in the stock market or in some fixed income instruments, etc. And that money will grow over is expected to grow over a period of time. And then you reach this point which we call retirement. What is the retirement point essentially? It's a point where your human capital stops producing money, but in place of that, the capital that you have saved, that will start producing an income, and it is expected that that income from that capital will replace the human income that you're going out and working and producing. And that model has put Americans behind. Let me relate this with an example. So let us say that somebody retired in the year 2000. And at that time, he had $1 million. The banks were giving CDs at 5% at that time. So Now this person wants to be conservative. That means he doesn't want to lose that money that he has saved. So he puts it into the bank, and the bank gives him $50,000 a year, along with his social security, his spouse's social security, maybe a little bit of pension income. The money is adequate and he is managing to live life well. But let's say 10 years go by. In 2010, now here comes the point when that CD expires and he has to renew the CD. As you may be aware, by that time the interest rates had dropped considerably. And we were getting an interest rate of barely 1 or 2% at that time. So instead of the $50,000 income that he was getting at that point, now his income is only $10,000 or $20,000. So this model wherein you accumulate money and it only pays out a steady stream on a conservative basis in retirement without taking into account several other factors has kind of caused the problem. There has to be a new and innovative way in which retirement has to be thought of. And that's why I like to say that the traditional financial planning model is failing Americans, and therefore we have a retirement crisis in the US today.
Now, there are some words and terms which are very, very easy for you to understand, but I'm just curious to learn more about when you say traditional financial planning. We, on the one hand, think that traditions are always a way which helps us move forward. So, traditional financial planning has something wrong with it, do you think?
No, it's. I'm not saying it has something wrong with it, but the methodology that has been preached over a period of time is not serving people in the right way. It is like this, that there are lots of traditions in our life, but as modern life catches up, some of those traditions may not still hold in today's modern life because you don't need some of those traditions anymore, or they might go different, you know. So in that way, when we are looking at financial planning also, these changes that have happened in the environment and in the way life is lived today, that is what is causing the problem.
So, talking about the problems and solutions, many times inflation plays an important role on the market. But in terms of financial planning, how can you address something that you don't know in advance? So, talk to us a little bit about how, as a financial professional, you keep this element of inflation in mind for financial planning.
So, I would like to say that, Ashokji, just to give you an example, we mail letters regularly. So on that we stick a first class postage stamp. So what do you think was the cost of a first class postage stamp in 1985?
It must have been less than what it is, and even I've seen it grow 4 cents now, 2 cents now, etc. It could have been anywhere between 25 to 30 cents.
It was about 22 cents. So today we are about 47 cents,
Right.
on the first class postage stamp. So if you look, the basic cost of living from 1985 to 2015 in the span of 30 years has gone up 2.5 times. Along with it, another thing has happened is that longevity has gone up. Life expectancy has gone up. So a person who retired in, say, 1965, he will be passing away in 10 or 15 years. That's the average life expectancy at that time. So if he retires at 65, most people would live a few years or maybe 10 years and pass away by 75 or 80. Now, the life expectancies have gone up and we see so many people who are 90, 95, 100. In fact, 100 is the largest growing demographic in the country. So somebody who retires at 65 now has 30 years to live. The income, as from our previous example, came down. But because of the cost of living has gone up, his expenses went up. This mismatch needs to be addressed. Longevity has become such a critical factor that it is affecting everything in retirement, right from starting from the basic of of uh, of things like healthcare to people working longer, or people not having adequate income to keep up with the pace of inflation. All these factors are coming in because of longevity, and therefore this needs to be planned for. This needs to be looked at when we are talking to a person who's 60 or 65 today, or even younger. That the pool of money not only has to give a steady income, but it has to give a steady and increasing income, which has to go more than double or 2.5 times over this long period of time.
Now that's very important area, that not only growing income but steadily growing income in order to address the effect of inflation. Now that puts a big challenge, and it appears to be something which is impossible to achieve from a layman's perspective. But when we are sitting with a financial professional who is also familiar with how stocks and bonds operate and what projections can be made considering the interest rates, and so talk to us a little bit about how you help people navigate through this maze of different variables.
Uh, Ashok, that's a great question, because you see the normal stock and bond portfolio gives you a certain rate of return. But it was also observed that during the 1990s, a lot of people saw their savings grow up with the stock market. And at that time, studies were put out. One of the study was done by a company called Ibbotson, and they did a study going back to all the way to 1925, and they took 15 to 20 year periods, 1925 to 1955, 30-year period. Then 1926 to 1956, that way 30-year period they took going forward. And they checked if a person had a pool of money, then how much from that pool of money can he withdraw, and regularly also increase the amount that he is withdrawing, but he doesn't run out of money in 30 years. And they found that the answer was around 3%. And the portfolio would have to be such that half the money would be in stock market type of investment and half the money would be in conservative type of investment. So if something like that was done, then up until 1995, they found that model worked. Come the twin crashes, stock market crash in 2000 and again in 2007, the interest rates also first rose and then they came down. When all that happened, they did this study again. Some other gentlemen, they checked on this study again in 2007, and they found that there are failures. So one side, when they said earlier that you can take out 3% with a 3% increase, that in later years failed. So you need to address this in a different way. That means the models that you need to put inside your plans have to be very varied. You need to have probably a real estate component, which gives, like rent in real estate, if you know, it regularly keeps rising with inflation. So real estate may be a component. Some other fixed income guaranteed products may be a component. And that way, the modern portfolio needs to be designed to take care of all these elements. And guaranteed incomes are the ones that really, really work for people.
But someone who is not very much familiar with the financial system, he feels that if the traditional financial planning has failed, then what is the guarantee that this innovative approach with some twists here and turns there would help me as the time moves and there are some eventualities and there are some urgent needs. So, how confident you are in terms of the advice?
That's a very great question. What we have done is that we have incorporated systems which are dynamic inside our management. So it's not like, first of all, it's not a one size fits all. Second, after that, after that, what we do is we have regular periodic meetings with clients to see how their circumstances have changed. And in turn, we also are monitoring what is happening in the external situation. When we marry these two together, we are able to take steps, change steps along the way, be dynamic, be flexible, so that in the long run we are able to deliver results. End of the day, our goal is always to be conservative, and I think using the present models with their flexibility, we are pretty much able to attain what we set out to attain for our clients.
Really happy to hear that if you manage to serve well, you attain your objectives and people are taken care of in the best possible way. That is what we want to happen in everybody's life. And as financial professional, Paresh ji, you have been doing that for last 18 years, and that's a long, long time. So maybe there are more reasons for people to have confidence in your judgment and your insight. Thank you very much for joining us today with lots of good wishes.
Thank you, Ashok ji.